Hi, this is Jesse with Land EKG, and today I want to talk to you about grazing cages. You may be wondering, what is a grazing cage? There's a lot of versions out there. The whole premise, though, behind any grazing cage is to provide a small exclosure in the pasture that protects a specified area from grazing of livestock throughout a grazing season. Most designs that have been developed feature some use of woven wire fencing material to prevent grazing of livestock. And some, like the first shown on the left, require T-posts to hold them into place. Here at Land EKG, we've developed our own version for a grazing cage design, and we did this using a 16-foot cattle panel to cut out the materials from the panel to make this triangular grazing cage. And our design, we think, is pretty good. It is portable, it's durable, freestanding, and it's just a great addition to your pasture management. So why would you use one? Well, this tool serves as a fast and easy method to visually compare forage production by simply comparing the amount of forage inside the cage to the residual left outside after grazing. And so when you're monitoring your forage production in your pasture, you can use this information to help you answer some management questions. And these questions could be things like, how much growth has occurred in the pasture? How much production have the livestock removed? Is enough residual being left? Or can I predict whether there will be enough forage for the rest of the grazing season? Having a grazing cage and being able to visually see how much forage was produced throughout the season compared to what is outside the cage that has been grazed off is very useful in this instance. If you want to get more accurate comparisons, you can do this through taking production clippings of standing forage from both inside and outside the cage. Then you can dry these samples and weigh them and use the percentages to get an estimate on percent utilization for the pasture. In addition, when you use this information recorded along with precipitation amounts, you can calculate stocking rates for a grazing plan, and you can also help determine critical rainfall dates for a drought plan. And lastly, grazing cages are just a great addition to any monitoring site. If you are doing some rangeland monitoring on your ranch, and you're grazing cattle in that area, you may want to have a grazing cage there so that you can get a really good estimate on how much forage is actually being produced at that site. So, considerations for placing grazing cages in a pasture. First off, you're going to want to make sure that the grazing cage is located on the most prevalent soil types in the pasture, and especially on any particularly fragile sites in the pasture that maybe you want to monitor more closely. Grass within the cage is going to be dependent on what your goals are. You might be monitoring for just whatever's the most abundant grass species available, or you may want to you're specifically managing your grazing for a particular species, and so you want to direct your management towards this new species, and so you'll want to put your grazing cage in an area where there's more of that grass or forage that you're monitoring and wanting to get more of. Overall, though, the main goal is just to provide an average representation of the pasture's forage diversity, density, and vigor inside the cage. Also, another consideration for when you're placing grazing cages in the pasture is you want to point the flat side of the grazing cage to the south. This helps ensure that microclimate conditions, such as shading effects or moisture retention within the cage aren't affected. Because if you have that happen, it can affect the grass growth inside the cage, and you could, if there's more moisture retained inside the cage than versus outside, there may be more production, and it may not then be a very representative sample of actually what was growing in the actual growing conditions for that season. Also, if you're using a rain gauge with this grazing cage, you'll that'll be mounted in the corner that's facing to the north, so it'll be opposite of the side facing to the south. And lastly, moving your grazing cage around. If you're gonna take this and if you're gonna build one of these and take it out into your pasture, it's best to just cut out all the pieces and then take it out to the pasture and put it together there. And the grazing cage design we have, if you cut out all the pieces for it, it's really easy just to haul it around on a pickup truck bed or on an ATV or whatever. But once you get it out there and get it set up, you want to make sure that you move it at least once a year, just before the new grazing season starts, because this will help give you more valid representative readings. And also, when you're moving it, you don't really have to move it too far. 100 feet is really probably just enough, and it still providing that the cage is still on the proper soil type and grass species. So I hope you enjoyed this little short video on some of the reasons why you should use a grazing cage, and we're gonna have another video here soon teaching you how to build your own grazing cage out of a cattle panel with a design we developed here at EKG. So hopefully you'll found this helpful, and look for more info on the grazing cage design we have here on our website, or you can find it in the description below this video. And also, if you ever have any questions, feel free to email us here at the office at office@landekg.com. Send us a question on Twitter, find us on Facebook, or check out our website, landekg.com. Thanks.